Be it looking down on children at play, or receiving their sacraments, ceilidh dancers rattling the boards, or committees conducting their meetings of monumentous importance, the proudly restored parish hall at Durrow is at the very heart of this vibrant rural community. More than a building that has welcomed over 30 community groups and their activities through the years, the hall is used to embellish the rituals of births, Holy Communion, confirmations and weddings in the nearby church. Equally, when the thin veil between this world and the next is breached, the hall shelters us as we stand shoulder to shoulder in the shared sorrow of death. Tá sriracha, gur ar scá céile a warren nadina. We live in the shadow of each other. Never was a phrase more suited to a place than it is for this place of Durrow, a hive of activity and cooperation, a centre that connects each of us to something greater than the sum of all its parts, greater than ourselves. Presently, no less than 14 community groups are intertwined, connected by this simple building. From the Hall Committee itself proudly governing and now restoring the hall, our local school, preserving ties with its original location which it left only recently in 1945. The play school that began here before moving to its modern new home just up the hill. Durrow Choir that graces religious occasions with traditional and modern masterpieces. The GAA, which provides sporting challenges for all in a spirit of inclusion. The Active Retirement Society, whose happy faces tell us that they are having more fun than anyone else. Feroga, who cater for our young folk. Our Ladies' Hall Committee, there for every occasion to cater, console and celebrate. The Cemetery Committee, who keep the place in tip-top condition. The High Cross Society, preserving and promoting Durrow's links with its glorious past. The Community Alert Group, who serve and protect. The Ceilidh Club, famous throughout the Midlands. School Parents Association, working closely with Durrow National School to bring a fun element to the daily lives of the scholars. Vintage Tractor Club, always on hand to raise funds for deserving charities in Durrow and Tullamore. And the Durrow Pattern Committee, combining with almost all of the groups above to make our famous Pattern Day the most welcoming and perfect it can possibly be. Historic spot, how widely known. In early days thy glory, when Columkill first raised a stone that tells a touching story. The lines from Edward Egan's poem Durrow remember the proud connection with our patron, St. Columkill, that is kept alive through the annual Pattern of Durrow. Both young and not so young alike leave no stone unturned, or unfortunate weed alive, so as to display lovely Durrow at its splendid best, as it welcomes those who will flock from the four corners for Pattern Day, June the 9th. Just as they have always done since the 1400s, when the Pattern of Durrow was first chronicled.
They're not pulling the weeds here or doing nothing here on their spare time. They're going around chatting one another. And I was talking to the principal in the school there, and he was talking about something similar as well. Look at this here, look. That's what they should be doing, look. See that? And they're not doing it, look. Every other day of the week I'm up here and look, at this. Look, see that? That's just, I'll tell you who I'm going to have a chat with about it. Maggie Sullivan. So that's all. I'll be seeing this on Sunday, I suppose, when I call up here. Take care of yourself. Thanks very much.
Each year, Durrow children are busy perfecting tunes and songs for the Holy Communion Mass. The Graveyard Committee tends to every blade of grass, as if trying to best their own excellent efforts of previous years. The path to Durrow Abbey, Columkill's Holywell and the High Cross is made safe and inviting for the reverent visitors who will walk in the footsteps of centuries of devout pilgrims who have worn the way before them. Those who religiously return from foreign parts to remind us that they too are part of the living tradition at Durrow.
Oh, the memories of Pattern Day years ago were absolutely, it was the highlight of the year. We got new clothes, new socks, and I remember we were waiting to go down, and if it was raining, my mother mightn't let us go, and we would tell her, Mother, it's only flies outside. It's only little flies. We won't get wet. We can go.
The biggest remembrance, I always loved the procession down to the well, and walking through the grounds, and then the sports was the really good part. All the different three-legged races and sack race and all that sort of thing.
I remember always the three-legged race. I remembered all the stalls. I remember getting the sticks of sugar, and but other games. Obviously, we played the sack race, and I remember it being a highlight. Watching the dancing. I remember the grown-ups for me that time danced. It wasn't children.
The dancing was so scary, and then all the stalls, which was so exciting to be able to spend some money. It's a long, long while since I have been. Probably 20 years.
I think Durrow has come on. I think it's a beautiful parish. I think now, as you talked about the pattern, I think as a child you look forward to the sports, whereas now I look forward to the procession. And I think it's been done so well, and it's also been done basically much the same way. It's never changed from the time we were children. And I think in this fast-moving world, it's actually quite nice that the parish has kept a little bit of its tradition of what it was as we remember as children.
The roads are the one thing that I think are so good now, and it seems more opened up. I think the fact that Durrow Hall, that looks so fantastic, and it's so big, and it's great for the whole community, I think. I just feel very proud of how Durrow has grown.
Yeah, I was just going to say that to you. You seem to have pride in your place still after all the years away.
Oh, always. I mean, I suppose in a sense my home is in Australia, but my heart is in Durrow.
People are much better off, beautiful houses. I love the way everything is kept up very well. And yes, and the community has changed. People are not so, the farmers or the rural community, we knew it has changed to embrace everybody. Oh, I'm very proud, and even when I was living away, I actually always came home, the last 20 years I came back to the pattern, and I actually always enjoyed coming back to the pattern. It was very much a change from living in a city centre or working in a city. And I always thought it was so nice to come back and find this tradition kept up so well, and people actually who lived here were still very proud of what Durrow had become, or what they had made Durrow, because I didn't make Durrow. And I've always admired that, and as such I have retired back here. So I am finished work in the city and I've come back to Durrow.
Oh, the school, I mean, I've made some good friends, which are today, last night I was just out with Gemma Colgan. The day I started school, I started with her. And we've kept in touch and catch up every time I'm back. And we correspond with each other, yes. And, you know, that's marvellous. And seeing people that I haven't seen, but I know so few people now. That's the sad part. Especially this actual school. When I look at it now, how it has grown from when, you know, there was just the 3 rooms. And I think spent most of my time in this room and the next room. I was surprised a few years ago when I was back, probably about 10 years ago, when I saw the improvements in this school, where some of my relations were here, and I came up to the school and it was fabulous to see the huge changes. Durrow itself, I think it's just grown and grown with all the new houses. That's the biggest surprise, and I'm really looking forward to Durrow Pattern on Sunday, because there's such fond memories of when we used to be so excited about it, and I can remember not sleeping for nearly a week when we had to dance at the Pattern of Durrow. We were so scared.
The day itself erupts in a splendid celebration of tradition, faith, and not least catering for local groups.
Betrayal, crucifixion, death and resurrection. Colin Kill knew that, and he was willing to give his life so that other people would know that.
Then there are the locals, who have never missed a Pattern Day since they learned to walk, and perhaps before.
As long as I can remember, I am going to the Pattern. I must have been only about 5 when I went first. And at first I saw 2 masses, and then later on I saw 1 mass. But that was only for 1 year. And then Father Cooney come to the parish. He started up the Pattern brilliant. He had 2 masses, great sports, but it took him years to get to a couple of years to get to his high standard.
There wasn't much more about it in my way young days. They kind of half dying out. And then when Father Cooney came, he revived it up and made a great job of that here. He got in a lot of it. He had one time he got in pony races and ass racing and all the good jockeys and the country came in to ride asses. They were all professional jockeys. The asses wouldn't go, they had to be pushed and carried and everything. But But he improved it a lot.
Well, at one of his sports, there was he started the dancing stage in it. And the first was a half set of quadrilles. After that, then he had horse race, and he had 2 horses. That's the only time ever a horse run at the pattern. He had 2 horses running. He had them named Dusty Puss on April the 4th. And he commentated on it himself. And he had bicycle races and football matches and children's races. He run off everything very quickly. And he was a great man for it. He had everyone in the town nearly out to it. Okay. And the side of the hill in Birmingham's below was covered with people. All the shopkeepers were nearly out. He went to them all. I don't believe I ever missed a pattern. And I still go to the well, and we always went to the well. You marched down from the well after the Kilbeggan boys band. And the second mass was what the guy used to call a high mass. And there'd be a choir out from Tullamore before we had got the Durrow choir.
Okay.
And I think the most beautiful sermon I ever heard was one given by Father O'Shea. And he started off with Among the Hills of Donegal. There lived a boy whose memory is still endured, not only among his native land, but over the whole civilised world. I'm lived in Durrow all my life. I was reared in Ballycallahan and now I'm in Ballybough. I seen one house up the high road and now there must be near 50.
One house?
One house, Cuscally's. Malloy's was down a bit from the road, yeah, but it wasn't on the road. He had a gate at the road, just.
Well, build the house building. The house is the biggest change. And of course all the biggest change that ever came was electricity came in.
There was all the traps were at Mass of a Sunday and walking and a bicycle, and there was one car, and that was belonging to Owen Wire of Kilclare. He was the maltster in Egan's in Tullamore, and he had a very good job. And the rest people had some round traps and more square ones and more people walking, and an odd one had a bicycle, not too many.
And now
and they were all, the horses was all tied, and some of them unyoked there, this side, from the school down, each side of the road. And now it's all cars. I always felt safe on a bike, because I was a good cyclist, I must tell the truth. And when I finished in Durrow here, I went to the Sacred Heart School in Tullamore. That meant that I was used to cycling. But 4 or 5 of us could ride in abreast, and the man that come with the car had to blow the horn to get us off the road. There was no such thing as the car man driving and you watching.
Cars, no one had a motor car that time at all, except Tom Bracken and Fredna. He had it first.
He must have been a wealthy man, Pat.
No, Tom, he wasn't a great driver, and he was a bit on when he got it. And when Tom had meet a car on the road, and he'd pull in himself in, he used to go very tight to another car, and he'd always wouldn't move in the car, he'd move in himself. He wouldn't like to get hit.
And hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. And of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much. And a very special congratulations to our young people who made their first communion today.
It didn't go well, and they started to shoot each other, and I think the score was just 3-0, I think, to the McGagans. My so Fred tells me. But it's amazing at the pattern of Durrow what can come out of a boot of a car, and this plate from There was commissioned in 1951 to commemorate the Book of Durrow, and the history is all on the back of it, and the beautiful illuminations from the carpet pages and the 4 Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John are here. And Johnny Connor has kindly donated this and asked us to give it to Father Shane as a parting gift. So Father Joe, give me that
Honestly, this is a very important piece, enshrines an awful lot of the history of this place, and finishing up here on this Pattern Day, it's beautiful, the Durrow plate, so I'm sure he'll treasure this, and I'll pass it on to him. And thank you very much for all your support and attention, and wish you well. Thank you. Oh, the final song, of course, we have Faith of Our Fathers. We'll join in that. So thank you.
Our fathers chained in prison dark were still in heart and conscience free.
Last one.
That's all right.
Did you get the word right this year?
We did. That's okay. That's all right.
I had to impersonate.
In your absence, we presented you with this priceless artifact. It's the Durrow plate.
Wow.
Commissioned in 1951 to commemorate the Book of Durrow, which was kept in the hands of the McGagan family after the dissolution of the monasteries here. So this plate is a very special artifact, and it's a token of our appreciation from none other than Johnny Connor, who wanted to give it to you as a thank you for this. Thank you very much.
Right, we'll go for a swim now anyway. Well, they may go on about Newgrange and stuff like that up in Navan. They might go on about the Golden Vale or the Boyne Valley and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing they don't have is they don't have Durrow well. So be proud of Durrow. Be proud of your place, because it's a place worth being proud of. So thank you all very much, and God bless you all. Anyway,
The highlight for the children may well be the pattern sports. More simple now than the times when the awfully hurling kingpins St. Ryna's hurled the cream of Kilkenny, Johnstown. Or Tony McTague's Forban took on Summerhill of Meath in football. The pattern sports is now an inclusive event where the GAA present their grounds in tip-top condition. Many a victory shot is mixed with the tears of disappointment as small children are picked at the line or come a cropper in the wheelbarrow or sack race. Even Berry's shop, once a parish focal point and rambling house, is revived for the day to cater to hungry and thirsty athletes. As the day comes to a close, the crafty card players gather in Durrow Hall. Although their stiff limbs might not compete with the children, their nimble minds more than compensate. For woe betide anyone who lets out a soft game at 25. My hand is weary with writing. My sharp great point is not thick. My slender big pen juts forth a beetle-hued draught of bright blue ink. The 12th century poem, Columkill the Scribe, credits our patron with a great prowess for writing. Modern scholars agree that our Book of Durrow, that predates the Book of Kells by 100 or so years, emanating, if not from the fair hand of Columkill himself, then certainly from Durrow. So proud are we of this priceless treasure, which further links us with our past, that we show a replica copy to the children of Durrow School each year on or around Pattern Day. Equally honoured were we when our precious manuscript was taken from the hallowed halls of Trinity this year to be displayed with the Lindisfarne Codex and Book of Burr in the British Library. Gospel icons as depicted in the Book of Durrow, adorn our parish church, reminding us of links with our great saint. As it is today, Durrow was exalted in the past. This is evidenced by the fact that the kings of Meath commissioned the construction of a high cross here in the 9th century. The imposing masterpiece depicts scenes from the scriptures: Eve presenting an apple to Adam, Cain slaying Abel, and perhaps most relevant to the young musicians of Durrow, King David playing his harp close to, if not accompanied by, an Irish piper. Cultures and time interwoven by the hand of the sculptor.
Columkill founded a monastery here in the 6th century, and we're not quite sure what date, but maybe before he went to Iona, or perhaps during a visit here, because he most certainly was here on this site. This is probably the exact spot where he built his first church. He was granted land by a cousin. This grew to be a very significant monastery. Columkill founded a number of monasteries in Derry, Kells, Iona, and here.
You can see the importance of the history that's here in Durrow, and there's no people more aware of it than the community of Durrow itself. And over the centuries here, this estate and church has been in private ownership. There has always been problems with access, preservation of the artefacts that are here, including the high cross and the grave slabs, all of which were outside up to the early 2000s. So the community of Durrow decided in 1996 to set up a committee to put pressure on the state to take over ownership of the monastic site in Durrow and to preserve the artefacts that are here for future generations. This came to pass in 2003 when the state purchased Durrow Abbey House plus 31 hectares of land, including this 18th century church here and all of the artefacts that can now be seen here, plus the Durrow Holy Well. It did not solve all our problems because the state let the house plus the lands and let it for 99 years on a 99-year lease. It's not been used for the purpose for which it was intended. Now, we are grateful to the OPW and the Appreciative that they did do up this church here and they brought in the High Cross and the artefacts. So at least under pressure from the High Cross Committee, those things have been preserved. But our work continues because now we're putting pressure on the state to take back the house and the lands and to develop it in a very sensitive, environmental friendly way to attract tourists here. Because as already said, people are coming here from all over the world. There are other problems, of course, which we have to solve, which is like proper access to the site here, proper car parking facilities, toilet facilities, and most important of all, signposting. Because there's no signposting at all, because the TII will not allow signposting because they say the road is too dangerous. Yet they will not introduce proper traffic calming on the road. So as a High Cross Committee, as was once said by a politician, we have a lot done, but we still have a lot to do.
That Durrow commands a proud and a high status in the sacred landscape of County Offaly is in no doubt. Equally important, however, is the proud and important place it presently commands and will always command in the hearts of its people.